Alright, I'm back again. I have three things that I want to try to get through today, and I'm going to list them in order of the willingness to actually discuss them at length and actually post a link. The first one, I don't think I'm going to post a link on. That is, apparently Kim Jong Un is alive, unless you believe the people who still claim he isn't. There's a video of him giving a speech at a fertilizer manufacturing facility opening. I've seen it. I can't tell if it's CGI or just highly edited to make things look more pristine or what. Sometimes it can be hard to tell. Honestly, if you told me it was CGI, I could believe it. If you told me it was real, I could believe it. And this year, anything can happen. I mean, we got freaking Asian killer hornets now. So that's that. I'll let you go do your dumpster diving on that one. That can be your homework for the day. The second one, I will try to post a link to this down in the description. Joe Biden and his campaign have petitioned to have they filed a request to get a copy of Tara Reade's complaint that she filed in '93 when all this crap went down, and it was denied by the DOJ. Apparently, there's like three different guidelines and procedures meant to protect the anonymity of basically a whistleblower, if you will. There are certain things about her complaints that give her credibility over, say, the Brett Kavanaugh complaints, even Donald Trump to an extent, or Herman Cain. That is, she did in fact tell people, we know she did, because her mother called Larry King live to ask what to do. So that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt she did tell people. And she did file a complaint at the time. Now, she did say she left the part out where, out of respect, where, he grabbed her by the brow. What Trump said he could do and get away with it, and people said that he literally said he did it. No. But Joe Biden did, apparently. And I know she also went and filed a police report. Here's the thing. At this point, filing a police report is stupid. Statute of limitations is long since expired. But what gives her the credibility is she filed the initial complaint, even if some information was left off that does question certain aspects of her story. In my opinion, it would have been best to have gone ahead and say it. Now, then again, we're talking close, 20 some odd years ago. It was a different culture at that time, so that's one thing to keep in the back of your mind. Things were different, so there would have been more pressure to kind of censor herself. And, when it comes to the request being denied, 99 times out of 100, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. The whole protecting the anonymity of the complainant, the whistleblower, if you will. 99 times out of 100, I could be behind that. 999 times out of 1,000, I could be behind it. But every so often, there pops up an exception to the rule. And in this particular case, it's kind of hard to claim you're protecting the anonymity of the complainant when they've gone out and made public statements on it. The old adage, closing the barn door after the horses have gotten out, comes to mind. And I'm sure that this is just utilizing certain procedural guidelines and whatever for political purposes. I don't see why at this point there's a reason to withhold it. It's already out there. So might as well release, even if you redact information, certain key pieces of information, fine. But at this point, there's no sense in trying to protect her anonymity because it's already out there. She's already disclosed a lot of information. But now for the big one. Apparently, George W. Bush said something highly inflammatory. For anyone who says I don't blast Trump enough, here you go. See, apparently a message of unity and coming together and getting through this coronavirus crap, apparently that's too controversial. And that's because that's what George W. Bush did. And Donald Trump said he blasted him for not coming out and supporting him, Trump, during the, as he put it, sham impeachment investigation. There are certain key things to keep in mind. One, George W. Bush blatantly said when he left the White House he was done with politics, he was going to try and keep out of it. And for the most part, he's done a pretty darn good job of doing that. With the exception of when his brother was running, he pretty much has kept his nose out of it. He's kept his nose a lot out of the limelight. Pretty much all he's done is pop his head out occasionally to preach about setting aside differences and coming together and blah, blah, blah. He's popped his head out to do a few charity things, a mission trip or two here or there. I think he might have done something for Habitat Humanity with Jimmy Carter or something along that lines. I might be mistaken on that. And of course, like he did a thing with the Ice Bucket Challenge and a few little things like that. But by and large, he's tried to keep his nose out of politics. And yeah, I know that's partially to rehab his image in the eyes of Americans until we figure out how much of the crap that went down under the Bush administration, was actually Dick Cheney's doing. That was a fake slip, and I firmly believe Dick Cheney had far more power and control than I think it was more his presidency than George W. Bush's. I think he was pretty much the puppet master, and George W. Bush was the marionette. So I've got to applaud him on that. And he stuck to his guns. He could have come out and said something, but he kept his mouth shut. And I think that was really the best thing to do. Now, there are a couple of other things to keep in mind when it comes to Donald Trump. He's kind of burnt that bridge just a little bit because Donald Trump has made some unsavory comments toward George W. Bush, to Jeb Bush. I think he might have said something about Laura Bush. I know he said stuff about Daddy Bush and Barbara Bush. A lot of unsavory things. As a matter of fact, he blasted Daddy Bush about the time he died. So, let's just put this aside. Let's just say, what if George W. Bush was just pissed at some of the things Trump said? And that's why he would not come out in support of him. He didn't come out and attack him either because, like I said, he's trying to save face, but he would not want to stick his neck out in the line for someone who's badmouthed his family, his father, who I honestly think he cared a great deal about, his mother, I think about the same. Of course, himself and his brother, and like I said, I think he might have said something about his wife. As a human being, even I would have a hard time setting that aside to come to the defense of someone who is saying crap like that. No matter how much I agreed with them. Even if I'm putting myself in George W. Bush's shoes, and I wish I could put myself in his bank account for a little while, but I'll settle with his shoes. If Trump had said that stuff about me, and people I cared about, I don't care how much I believe that impeachment was a sham, I would not have said a damn thing. I would have sat back, I would have kept my mouth shut, and when no one was looking, I would probably have a big shit-eating grin on my face. But rest assured, I would not say a single thing in support of him. The fact of the matter is, this message is to Donald Trump. Sometimes having a big mouth can go a long way. There's no doubt it got you a lot of free press and publicity leading up to the election in 2016. And that's a large reason why you got elected. But with that comes burning of bridges. And I know with politics, certain bridges can be mended for political gain. Some cannot. Some are so deep, so harsh, so personal, that the damage done supersedes political gain. And I don't know how better to say that, more clearly to say that. It's possible. I know you've gone out and you've said a lot of things about a lot of people, and they were just like, okay, they can put it aside when it comes down to the politics. A lot of times a lot of people can set that aside. But I firmly believe a lot of things when it comes to George W. Bush. I believe he did not really want to get involved in politics. And I've discussed that in length previously. I believe he truly is a family man. And I believe he actually cares a great deal about his family. I watched his eulogy at his father's funeral, and I believe every last teardrop that fell, every last time he got choked up, I believe every last bit of it was 100% legitimate. And I firmly believe that if he cared very deeply for both his parents. And I firmly believe it would be too much for any sane, rational human being to expect him or anyone in his position to set aside that deep of a personal attack in the name of politics. That's my opinion on the matter. Like I said, I'll have some links down in the description. Let me know what you think. Later.